This program is brought to you with the kind support of our viewers. Join us on a platform and help us make more great documentaries. The Battle of Stalingrad was one of the most important battles of World War II, and in this video we will talk about it. August 23, 1942, German troops under the command of Field Marshal Friedrich Paulus enter the Soviet city of Stalingrad. Their goal is to capture the city in a quick attack, and so the Germans thought at first, because they had already occupied most of the country unopposed. But what they didn't know is that this time, the Soviets would fight back. The battle for Stalingrad between Germany and the USSR lasted for 6 months from August 1942 to February 1943 and was one of the longest and bloodiest battles in the history of warfare. More than 2 million soldiers from both sides participated in the battle. This video is part of a series dedicated to this battle where we will tell you everything about it. So stay tuned till the end to find out when the next episode will be out. Stalingrad, or Tsaritsyn, before 1926, was a city in the south of the Soviet Union on the Volga River, important for its geographical location. In the Russian Empire, the city was known as the key to the Caucasus and the entrance to Asia. With the establishment of Soviet power in Russia after the Bolshevik Revolution, the city became an important industrial center of the USSR and was renamed to Stalingrad in honor of the leader of the USSR, Joseph Stalin. In 1926, the city's population was about 287,000 people, mostly Russians, but also Tatars, Germans, Ukrainians, Jews, Armenians, and others. Before the war, the city was home to many ethnic Germans who came to the region in the early 20th century to work in factories. They were loyal citizens of the USSR and did not support Nazism. However, when the war began, the German embassy in Moscow received many letters from them asking to be sent to Germany as they did not want to participate in the war against their homeland. Nevertheless, the Soviet government did not respond to these requests and only allowed the voluntary departure of ethnic Germans from the USSR. When the war started, all men from 17 to 50 years old were prohibited from leaving the city. A special military registration office was set up to monitor compliance with the order. As soon as the threat of the coming of the Germans became apparent, the city's Jewish community decided to create a Jewish battalion of the NKVD. About 800 volunteers joined it, and they took up defensive positions around the city. By mid-July, the mood of the townspeople had calmed down, and the leadership of Stalingrad believed that the city would not be attacked. Meanwhile, on July 17, 1942, German troops entered Tsaritsyn, which happened unexpectedly for the Soviets as the German troops moved along the riverbed. No one knew about the approaching danger until they reached the outskirts of the city. Then a message was received from the headquarters of the Red Army that a German group was spotted near the railway station of Kalash. The residents of Stalingrad still hoped that the Red Army would stop the enemy's advance, and no one paid attention to the retreating Germans. Only 2 companies of militiamen were guarding the city. On July 25th, German troops approached Stalingrad from 3 directions and launched an offensive. At the same time, aviation began dropping bombs on the city. This day went down in history as the day the Germans bombed Stalingrad. That night, Soviet troops blew up the railway bridge across the Volga, retreating to the city. Part of the German forces pursued them. The rest continued bombing the city and took up positions near it, having cut off all communication between Stalingrad and the outside world. By July 26th, the Germans were already fighting with Soviet reinforcements in the streets of the city. It was then that the real Battle of Stalingrad began, which has been called a battle between 2 fanatical opponents who fought to the last breath. Having learned about the situation in Stalingrad, the Soviet government urgently transferred the 21st Army from the Leningrad front to the city. It arrived there by train, but the Germans quickly took control of the situation and began shelling the trains. Of the 27 echelons with troops, only 14 reached the city. The Germans also captured the railway junctions of Sorovikino and Krasnoarmeyskaya, through which food and military supplies were delivered to Stalingrad. The Germans were able to quickly advance deep into the Soviet rear, advancing up to 40 kilometers from the city. The consequences of this were terrible. The German Air Force freely bombed factories, warehouses, railways, and military units in Stalingrad and its suburbs. And the city's leadership failed to organize a proper defense. People were advised to hide in basements or flee to the east of the city. At the same time, those who wanted to leave had to go through areas controlled by the Germans, which was very dangerous. The Germans divided the city into 3 parts, occupying the western and southern outskirts and completely controlling the railway tracks. From the east, the Germans were only 500 meters away from the center of the city. It seemed that the capture of Stalingrad was just a matter of time. But the Soviets managed to bring in reinforcements and formed the 62nd Army under the command of Vasily Chuikov. At the same time, General Chuikov ordered the remaining Soviet units to take up defensive positions along the river. With the exception of a small area south of the city, the entire city was engulfed in flames. Streets were littered with corpses, tanks, and guns. The Germans suffered from a shortage of ammunition and could not finish off the remaining Soviet troops. Meanwhile, the Soviets received reinforcements and, thanks to the help of civilians, managed to repair some of the destroyed factories and resume production of weapons and ammunition. On September 28th, the Soviets went on the counterattack, pushing the Germans back from the railway. The battle for every house, every street, every room began. It was hard and long. The Germans tried to break through the city's defenses several times but were repelled. Meanwhile, Hitler gave an order not to storm the city but to encircle it. This meant that the Germans would have to capture Mamayev Kurgan, which was considered the key to the city. On October 25th, the Germans occupied the high ground west of Stalingrad, shelling the city without stopping. On November 19th, the fighting reached its climax. The Germans made a powerful attack but were again defeated. All attempts by the Germans to break through the Soviet defenses ended in failure. Exhausted by hunger and cold, the Germans lost their desire to fight. At this point, the Soviets had gained the upper hand. They repeatedly tried to dislodge the Germans from their positions, but failed due to a lack of heavy weapons. Instead, the Germans, taking advantage of bad weather conditions, managed to deliver some reinforcements to Stalingrad and gain a foothold. During this time, the battle turned into a positional one, and the Germans realized that they could not win it. Therefore, on February 2, 1943, they began withdrawing their troops. During the 6-month Battle of Stalingrad, the Germans lost about 750 tanks, more than 500 aircraft, as well as tens of thousands of soldiers killed, wounded, and captured. The losses of the Soviet troops amounted to 44,000 people. The Battle of Stalingrad was a turning point in World War II. The victory of the Soviet troops over the Germans was the first major victory of the Red Army. After that, the Germans never again attempted such large-scale offensives in the East. And now it's time to find out how you can help us make more videos like this. You can do this by supporting us on a crowdfunding platform. Thank you for watching this episode. See you on the next one.